What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the NYG Blue Zone. It's your boy Atticus. Happy New Year's to everybody. I hope that 2025 finished with a bang for you. And I hope 2026 gives you guys many reasons to smile. Be intentional about having good days in the new year. Lots to talk about today. We're going to talk about the last game of the season. We're going to talk about some players who may not be here next year. Obviously, there's going to be some more coaching changes. We thought there might be a general manager change, but apparently ownership still likes Joe Shane. And I guess there's a couple of pieces and reasons why you could like him, but overall, I just don't think he did enough to keep his job. But who am I? But before we get into all that, if you like the content, you like the stuff that we bring to you, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and hit that notification bell so every time we drop some new content, you're one of the first ones to be notified. All right, so we got a game this weekend, y'all, and it's clear that this is a meaningless game for the Dallas Cowboys. I guess some might say it's meaningful for them. Apparently, Dak Prescott wants to have his team finish with a record that is not below 500. And quietly, he's had a really good year. And I'm one of those people who a lot of people like to trash Dak Prescott, talk shit about him. And yeah, we could do that because of the team he represents and how they haven't made the postseason since the 94 season or something like that. And they deserve it, right? Jerry's world and all of the insanity that usually surrounds the Dallas Cowboy franchise. They are just never running out of material for us to just target them for. But Dak Prescott, he's a good quarterback. I don't care about the fact that he's a Dallas Cowboy. As a player, he's a really good player. And quietly, he has had a tremendous season. I'm not going to get into all of his statistics, but he has had a very good season. In fact, he is climbing up the records charts in Dallas Cowboys history. And his numbers, his statistics over the years, even without winning any postseason games of relevance and going deep into the playoffs and participating in Super Bowls, he's going to find himself on the Mount Rushmore of players in Arlington, Texas, because he's just been that good of a quarterback overall for the Dallas Cowboys. But yeah, both the Giants and the Cowboys have been eliminated from the playoffs. There's no playoff implications, but they're motivated for different reasons. The Giants, they're still evaluating their players. Wondell Robinson is going to be sitting down for the rest of the year. This final game, he just can't go due to injury. And I don't know if that's more of a coach's decision or if it's a medical decision, but we're not going to see him on the field again this year. And that's okay because he's already done what he needed to do. Over 1,000 receiving yards, 90 plus receptions, 4 touchdowns. The guy had a great year, and he did that with different offensive play callers in his helmet. He's done it with different head coach. He's done it with four different quarterbacks? 3 different quarterbacks throughout the year. With all that adversity and all the things he's had to go through, even knowing that I'm playing in a game that's not going to have any positive outcomes in terms of playoff positioning, he still produced at a very high level. And remember, this is 2 years removed from him returning from a torn ACL. The kid's balling, and it's a contract year. And people, when you're a player in this league, contract years, you better show and prove. And he did exactly that. So is the draft something that the Giants are still worried about at this point? Worst case scenario, if they win this game, because that's a loss in some people's books. If they win this game and everything else goes in the worst possible way for draft positioning that they can go for the Giants, the worst place they'll fall to is number 7. And number 7 still isn't a bad place for them to find themselves. I'm not even going to get into all of the prospects who I like for the Giants to look at coming out of the draft. I'm just talking about where they're going to land in what pick, in what position. If they lose the game, they could still very well be in that number 2 position, which is where they are right now. I am I really don't think I'm on team lose. I'm on team win because the only thing I think about with that is if they're in a second position and somebody's looking at, I think his name's Dante Moore out of Oregon as a possible, because we all, I think, universally think Mendoza is going to go number one. But if they're looking at Moore out of Oregon, that does give us a bargaining chip. That does give us a tradable position that will yield huge dividends, much more than pick number 7. But I don't know that the Giants are really thinking about it in that way. They have the discussions, obviously, they better, but I don't know that they're really going to be motivated by that in how they play players, their execution, their scheme, and how they're going to approach this game. I think they still want to play to win. I also think they still want to look at some players and evaluate them to determine, and this may be a Shane thing, do I want to bring this guy back? I think that his seat, while it has cooled off a little bit, there's flames coming out the sides of it. I don't think he's guaranteed to be here, even with the reports coming out saying that they still believe he's pretty safe. And I don't know what they're seeing to say that, but that's what I'm hearing. But the Giants want to see some things, so I think they're playing for different reasons than the Cowboys. Cowboys, it's a pride thing for them. And I'll say another thing. One of the reasons why I would like to see the Giants win, beat the Cowboys. I mean, come on, man. How many years do we have to go without beating the Dallas Cowboys? And there were so many times when the Giants were in ideal position to finally beat the Dallas Cowboys. And Dak Prescott, whether it be Jake Ferguson, Jason Witten, or whoever, would find a way to convert on a 4th down or 3rd and 15 or score on a 4th and something in the red zone to take a win in a game that we should have beat them. If for nothing else, just beat the fucking Cowboys. Gosh, it's so annoying to have these extended losing streaks against franchises, particularly in years where you've got a better team. It's just frustrating. Oh my God. So one of the things that came out of the game last week, Jackson Dart looked really good. He was again nominated for the Pepsi Rookie of the Week. I'm not even sure if he got it at this point. I didn't check up on that, but just to be nominated in that context is huge for a guy who the prior week only passed for 33 yards. So good for him for getting his groove back. Good for the coaches for not bubble wrapping him again. Let the man play his game. And when he does, good things tend to happen. And he still needs more reps. I think he still needs more opportunities to see that rush coming and make the right decision. If he escapes out of the pocket and he uses his legs to pick up some extra yards, make a business decision when you see danger approaching. Whether you be running across, down towards the sideline or you're running up the middle, do you dive head first? Do you slide feet first? Do you just tuck and fall the way Eli Manning used to do it? But make good decisions when you see danger approaching, decisions that's going to prolong your career and keep you out of the blue tent. I think these reps are going to be very important for him. I want to see the offense continue to operate efficiently too. I do like, for the most part, what Kafka has done with this offense. I like how the offensive line has really gelled and performed well. Even with the absence of Andrew Thomas, who went out last week with a hamstring injury, I think Mbo is a really good swing tackle for the Giants. I think he's going to be good for a long time. A lot of conversations going on about what's going to happen with Illuminor. Is he going to remain at the right tackle? Is he going to ask for too much? What's going on with the guard positions? I tell you what, man, Carmen Brasillo has done such a fabulous job with this offensive line that whatever he recommends, I'm signing up for it, because these guys have finally been playing like a unit that produces in pass pro and run blocking. They're in the top half of the league this year, a place that they have not occupied in a very long time. So if he thinks that Mbo should remain a tackle, a swing tackle, or if Illuminor needs to be replaced by Mbo, and we draft some more talent to get depth at that offensive line on the offensive line, whether that be tackle or guard, I'm going with what Carmen Bracello says. He's got one more year in his contract to coach that line, and I hope the Giants do the right thing and they extend him. I also want to say, and I kind of got off track talking about the offensive line, but that's important because Jackson Dart needs a good offensive line. Whoever the quarterback is needs a good offensive line if they're going to have any kind of success back there. You, so I think they've been doing well. I also, speaking of the offensive line, I want to say one more thing. These guys have done a really good job of creating lanes for the running backs to run through. Tyrone Tracy has regained his form, and he looked like he lost it a little bit when Scatterbo took over the starting running back position while Tracy was out on injury. But when he came back, you could see Tyrone Tracy Jr. really wasn't sure about whether he was going to be a power back, whether he was going to be nifty and shifty, what he was going to do and who he's going to be. And it took a couple of games for him to get back into who he was and to play within his game. But once he got back within his game, he started to play well again. And part of him being able to do that is that offensive line creating the holes and lanes for him to run through. Even if it's for a split second, he's been able to find it and hit it and go. And I like that. And quietly, Devin Singletary has played well also from that position. So I don't know what they're going to do in terms of the draft and if they're going to pick up another running back in one of the later rounds, and they probably will, but I would have really liked to see Turbo Miller back there. I really like the running backs that we have right now. I really don't think we need to do much by way of bringing in new running backs if I'm keeping in the 100, because these guys that we have make up a really talented running back room. And as long as these guys play with confidence, as long as we keep a solid offensive line, I think they will continue to develop and help to make the play action a really big threat for Jackson Dart. So, and with Carmen Brasillo doing his thing with that offensive line, we got a lot of reasons to believe it. Not some hope type stuff, but we see the improvement, and it will only get better if we keep some consistency there. Dak Prescott, he's staring at having a losing season for one of the fewest times in his career. These guys have their defense is so bad. And Dak Prescott has put on some Herculean efforts to win games this year. He's been in some dog fights, and the only reason they were in the game is because of the play of Pickens and CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott getting the ball to them, because their defense has done them no favors. And that's partly as a result of Jerry Jones not signing Micah Parsons and whatever happened with that disaster. And now lately they just let go of, what's the kid's name? Trey Diggs. Is that his name? Trey Diggs? Diggs. He went over to Green Bay to join Micah. Like, what is going on in Jerry's world that they let some of their best talent, and I know Diggs has regressed a little bit from where he was, but that may be a byproduct of the dysfunction that's going on in Dallas. I don't know. But two of their most recent stars on their defense are no longer on the roster. And that says a lot about the culture in that organization. So, and the pride that Dak Prescott is playing with to try to keep that team from finishing below 500, you got to admire the guy for wanting to go out there and ball, because I guarantee you, if he wanted to play limited snaps in a reduced role in this game, a meaningless game, his coach would allow him to do that. The guy has played at an exceptional rate this year, and I ain't mad that the Dallas Cowboys look like shit, but they finished with a better schedule than us, and Dak Prescott, he has had an impressive season so far. You know, it's a lot of injuries this week too. Some of these injuries may be manufactured for playoff positioning with the Giants. I don't know. But I do think that some guys, it doesn't matter. There's some guys that's banged up, some guys that aren't going to play. We already talked about Wondell Robinson. He's out. I didn't even see him get injured during the game. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. I didn't see it, but it would have been nice to get him a few more receptions, maybe get him over 100 receptions, and pad those yardage stats a little higher. But he's going to be out this week. I think he had a neck injury. And then Cordell Flott. I do think Cordell Flott has really improved his game. I don't think he's a number one, but he's a decent number two. And he's played well. And during his absence, we've had to deal with Deontay Banks, and I've talked about him at nauseum. I'm not going to go into too much depth, but I think that the system has not worked out well for him. And as a result, he's been exposed in ways to show that he is in a bad situation, or was anyway. Evan Neal, why his name continues to come up on the injury report, it defies anything that makes any kind of sense. Like, who even cares at this point? And not to say I don't care about another human being and livelihood of a person, whatever the case may. But Evan Neal has really not delivered. I shouldn't even say really not delivered. He hasn't delivered at any point during his campaign on his rookie deal. For him to be a first round draft pick and to be as bad as he is, I just don't understand that. So why was he even activated from IR only to be sitting out? I don't understand it. See, that's some dumb shit, personnel decisions that the coaching staff makes that I do not understand. But here we are. He's on the injury report again. Whatever. And like I said, I think his last snap as a New York Giant happened during the preseason. I don't think he will see the field again. I don't know why he would, but whatever. We'll see what happens with that. But there's some other players also that the New York Giants are looking at who they probably took their last or will take their last snaps as a Giant. We could talk about names of that when we start looking at position groups. Probably next week we'll start talking about position groups and what our needs are and what our strengths are and who we want and who we don't and whatever the case may be. But from the Cowboys side, they're out there. They're starting and backup running back this week. They're going to have a third string guy and maybe somebody signing off the practice squad running the ball. And their offensive line has suffered. They've got injuries on that line. I mean, honestly, this should be a decent week for the New York Giants running game and their pass rushers to get to the quarterback. I think that Dak Prescott has shown major improvement in his escapability. In fact, he came into the season looking cut and just like he's been really preparing and working hard to have a good year this year. And he did, but he's just on a bad team. So, but I think that when it comes to the trenches, advantage goes to the Giants because they're healthier and they've got better players who are going to be suiting up for this game. And then, like I talked about earlier, Trayvon Diggs, he's gone. So their secondary, while he has not been a major contributor in their secondary, he was a piece that they counted on when they needed depth. And he's no longer going to be there. So, but without Wondell Robinson, it just begs the question: who are the Giants really going to be throwing to? Because the Giants receivers has particularly the wide receivers, absent Malik Neighbors, have not been very good at catching the ball. There's so many drops that happen from that position, and then you've got Theo Sugarwater Hands Johnson, who is just pisses us off. I mean, it's so crazy because he'll have a tremendous performance and follow that up with a Evan Ingram game. And we're just like, what the fuck, bro? Like, can you be consistent for once? Between him and Darius Slayton, it's a mess when it comes to being reliable to count a ball when you really need it. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but, you know, um, we'll see. I don't know if our receivers are better than the depleted secondary for the Cowboys. We gonna see. But I think the Giants pass rush, they've shown us that they're still playing hard. Abdul Carter has just been ferocious. It'd be real nice to see him get at Dak Prescott, sack him 2 times to finish out the season. I think that'll do a lot to build and bolster, build and bolster his confidence going into the offseason, knowing that he had a tremendous game against a division opponent where he finished strong. Dexter Lawrence, I hope he does well too. I hope all the guys do well. Brian Burns has consistently delivered at a rate and a pace that is just admirable. He has really exemplified New York Giants defense by himself all year. And I'd like to see the group do very good this game. Charlie Bullen really has them playing at so much of a higher level than Shane Bowen did. And I'd like to see that unit finish really strong. So even in losses, they've been just like busting their asses to get it done. And they fell apart a couple of times. They did. But since Bullen has been in, the toughest outing that they've had was against the New England Patriots. And it was just a tough go for them that night. So, and then, like I said, with the injuries on that Dallas offensive line, there should be some opportunities in there. They've got a patchwork line working this week. Some guys are dealing with illness, and that seems to be a theme throughout the league. Like guys aren't like injured; they're just dealing with cold, flus, and other types of illnesses. And that's why I say at this time of the year, when you got two teams who they're really not playing for anything other than pride and draft position, and you can just fake an illness and not play, or the coach can say it. Although I'd like to think that there's more integrity at play than that, and that's not what's happening. You just never know. So, but then from a coaching perspective, that doesn't benefit Kafka, who is still trying to put himself in position to possibly become a head coach, even if it's not here. Because the chances are whatever head coach comes in here is not going to keep Mike Kafka. There's a strong possibility of that. And there's a lot of people who would like Kafka to stay and continue to develop Dart in the way that he has. We don't know how that's all going to work out, but I don't see Mike Kafka being here next year. But because of that, he's trying to put a game plan, a scheme, a performance on film that's going to help bolster his resume. And if the effort is there, but guys are dropping passes and things like that, still works in his favor because he at least drew up a play that worked perfectly absent the player executing the way that they were supposed to. You know, Dallas trying to finish strong. I just think Dallas is just such a organizational mess that even though it doesn't fully spill onto the field, there's signs of it, you know, and I just don't see them having enough continuity and stability as a franchise right now to continue to produce. So in this game, but you just can't discount the effort that Dak Prescott has put on the field. You never know which Pickens is going to show up too. So I don't know, but there's a lot of stuff that's happening there where you just don't know what Dallas Cowboy team is going to show up. You don't know what they're going to put on the field. You don't know how they're going to look, and their defense has given Dallas Cowboys fans and coaching staff no reasons to believe they'll be able to stop Jackson Dart, even with missing receivers, guys coming in off the practice squad, hitting tight ends. Last game, he threw the ball to 7 different receivers. And he was missing 2 of his targets, Theo Johnson and Malik Neighbors, and still found a way to get the ball to 7 different guys. I think Dart's going to continue to be able to do that. And Dak Prescott has already shown us he could be a technician out there, especially against the Giants. He's had some of his better games. He always seems to find a guy who's open, even if it's a narrow opening. he's been able to find that guy to help beat the Giants. I think he hasn't lost a game to the Giants since his first two games as a professional, and he's been in the league for a while now. So, the Giants right now they're at second position in the draft. Everybody's talking about it. I would say that most of what I'm hearing is that fans want the high draft pick, not to pick somebody at 2, but to trade down. They want assets. They want more picks. And I get that. Part of me wants that too. But the other part of me says, I don't know. We've got some good pieces. We just need to get the right coaching in and develop the guys that we have and generate some kind of consistency in effort. And if we can get those pieces along with having a solid free agency period, and then a good draft, they don't even have to hit it out the park with, but a good draft. I think the Giants can be in a really good position next year. I don't know if the draft is and a higher pick is as important as it is to pick the right players. I want the ability to trade down. And at 7, you can still trade down. You won't get as much, but you can still trade down if the guy that you're looking for, or you are hoping for, he's already off the board, and your next guy is dropping a little bit, and you see him somewhere and somebody wants that 7 spot, take it. Take it. Be smart about it, though, right? But we're getting ahead of ourselves with that. That whole conversation shouldn't even be happening. And right now, I doubt that conversation is happening at 1925 Giants Drive. It's probably being had with Joe Shane and his scout team, strategy. But Kafka ain't thinking about that. Kafka ain't even gonna be here next year. Why would he think about it? You know what I mean? There was one time in probably somewhere around week 12 where he had a strong chance of still being here next year. I think that's gone now. I just don't see it. And I'm one of those people who I wanted to see Kafka do well. I think most of us did. But I wanted him to do well. I thought he might have a chance to be our next head coach. I thought that. I'm okay with being wrong, but I did think that. But he showed me too many situations through his head coaching decisions that he's just not ready. It doesn't mean he won't be ready. He's not ready right now. I like him as an OC, though. I do. I don't know if the Giants like him enough or if they're going to do some stupid shit and be like, whoever the head coach is needs to retain Mike Kafka as the offensive coordinator. You can't do that. You can't do that. I could see the Giants doing some dumb shit like that, though. I really could. And I hope they don't. But when you're constructing this roster and you're constructing this going through this coaching reconstruction, you need that head coach to bring his people in who he likes. Now, if he entertains Kafka and he likes Kafka and he wants to give him go ahead. But you better let that head coach do what that head coach does. You can't put conditions on bringing in a head because you're not going to get the guy. You're going to get another filler, and that filler is going to have us as Giants fans pissed off next year, probably more than we're pissed off now because we're going through it again. But when we do get to that point, some of the holes we need to fill is middle linebacker. We need wide receiver help. We need to make sure we stabilize that offensive line because we don't know what's going to happen with Illuminor. And that secondary, it needs a come up. And I said this in a different show. Like, we do have some really good players on defense. And when you have that many players, when you have 7 players that are as good as they are, and all of them aren't performing well, or only one of 7 is doing well, that might be the coach. If the whole classroom is getting a D, that might be the way you're teaching. It could be. And I really think that we have more talent on our roster than our record suggests. I think that and not for nothing, I've seen these same players, not 3 years ago, not 4 years ago, but last year, have much better seasons than they're having this year. And that's not a coincidence. So I think that, you know, middle linebacker is clearly a drop in talent when Micah McFadden or Bobby Okereke is not on the field. Wide receiver, somehow Kafka's been able to make sure that this offense is in the top 10 in many different categories. But we still need more reliable hands out there. Darius Slayton's contract needs to be restructured. They need to find a way to keep Wondell. And they need to look at that kid out of Ohio. I ain't going to get too deep into it, but they got to start looking. That offensive line, there's going to be some pieces to be grabbed in later rounds this year in the draft. And we know there's a lot of talent coming out of the secondary in the draft this year. There's some places that we really need to look. You know, I could look at Dallas and their needs too, but fuck Dallas. I don't care nothing about them. I'm a New York Giants fan. It's so funny. I was watching a press conference with Mike Tomlin, and somebody asked him, what do you think about, or how would you evaluate the progression that Shedeur Sanders has seen so far? He said, I don't care nothing about that. That's a question for the Browns. He don't play for the Steelers. He plays for the Cleveland Browns. Why would I evaluate one of their play? That's how I feel. That's how I feel. You know, so one other thing I want to talk about is Easy Elite Eli Manning is one of the finalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. This is coming off of the heels of him getting, I don't know if I'm going to call it snubbed, because while Giants fans will say that he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, he's still got a 500 record. His 500 record is not a clear indicator of how exceptional Eli Manning was during his career. He had a fabulous career. He had a career that most people would trade theirs for. You think a guy like Dan Marino, who had all the passing yards that he had and all of the different records that currently still stand in Miami and throughout the league, wouldn't trade to have Eli Manning's incredible runs through the playoffs into the Super Bowl and winning Super Bowl MVPs? He abso-fucking-lutely would. There are many other quarterbacks who finished with records above 500 who would say the same to you. And context matters, right? He didn't have a 500 record because he was a 500 quarterback. He had a 500 record because he had no offensive line for the remaining 5 years of his career. The Giants did more to injure his legacy than they did to help him as he started getting up there in years. His 10th through 15th year was rough because he had no help. And this team, these general managers did nothing to help him. But, and I think a lot of the judges have taken a look at that and they see that this man has done enough to earn his spot in the Hall and to get his gold jacket. And the fact is, he's going to get one. Whether it's this year or next, he's going to get one. And I'm just proud that it's probably going to happen this year. You know, so congratulations to Eazy-E. It's my boy. I really hope to see him putting on that gold jacket and being inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. But to wrap things up, the game on Sunday, what is it going to look like? Fuck if I know. You know, but what I want to see Jackson Dart having a clean game. I want to see the offensive line protecting him. I want to see Dart making good decisions when he finds himself in danger. I want to see him take slides instead of going head first. I want to see him dipping out of bounds instead of taking a big hit. That's what I want to see. And I want to see good ball placement because he's probably going to have another player elevated off the practice squad. And I think that Darius Slayton, I think Isaiah Hodgins are going to see a lot of activity. you're probably going to see Olszewski in there with Wondell Robinson's absence. And they've got a little bit of chemistry, and we've seen that already throughout the preseason and then training camp. So I'd like to see him have a good, clean game. I also want to see the special teams play well this week. They had a couple of nightmarish games, and they've had last week was phenomenal, right? I do like Tay Banks returning kicks and returning punts. I think just like Gunnar Olszewski, I feel confident he is going to protect the ball. He won't turn the ball over. I feel the same way about Tay Banks. And Tay Banks is just pretty good on special teams. You know, a lot of talk out there about the Giants need to make sure that this is the last game he ever plays. And I've been on record just like dragging Tay Banks, and he earned it, you know, with the so many different opportunities he had to end a drive that would effectively give the Giants a chance to end the game, and he failed. I think a large part of it is he was just slightly out of position and couldn't get the job done, and teams picked on him. But I do think you can't just waste a first round draft pick on this guy and let him. He's good on specials. And if you can get something for him, get something for him that, and I'm not talking about a 6th round, 5th round pick, but if you can get something for him, get something for him. But I like him, and I like him enough to give him one more shot with a new coach, a new DC, and a new system to see if he can get back to where he was when Wink was here. And I want to see Turbo Miller out there. Like, give him an opportunity to play. I still don't know why he hasn't been brought up off the practice squad, because that kid showed us a lot in preseason and training camp, you know? And I want a solid performance, right? I don't want to see a team out there on the field who is hard to watch. I want to see a team that is a functioning NFL football team. Even if they lose, just function well. I can take it. But I do think the Giants have a really good chance of winning this game. So that's what I want to see. With any luck, we'll end in a tie. You know, and things will go well for us in positioning for the draft. We'll be able to get some more film and some more reps for Mbo and for Dart. Let's Theo Johnson catch the fucking ball, man. Is you're gonna play this Sunday. I want to see you put hands on the ball. I don't want to see body catches. I want you to put your hands out, and I want you to catch the ball and bring it in. Catch and bring it in quickly. Please do that. Darius Slayton, catch and bring it in. You're gonna get hit. You get paid a lot of money because the risk is when you catch the ball, you're gonna get hit. Catch the ball, tuck it, get hit. But if you can get more yards, then get hit. Oh my God, it's so annoyingly frustrating. Either way, I just really hope that we're going to have a good, clean game. I'm okay with the Giants winning. I'm okay with them losing. I still prefer the win because I'm just a win now type of dude. But if we lose, we sitting at 2. And we can turn 2 into 3 or 4 more picks. And they don't even have to be picks in this year's draft. They can be picks in a future year's draft. I don't know. I don't care, you know, but either way, the Giants are going to make me happy this week as long as they put forth a decent effort on the field. I can handle a loss and I can handle a win. But I'm excited because my wife and I are going to go to the game. My wife is a diehard Steelers fan. She is from Steelers country out there in Western Pennsylvania, but we're season ticket holders to the Giants. So every year we go to the first game of the season, and this year we were not able to go. And I don't even remember what happened, but we were not able to attend the first game of the season, which is our thing. That's what we do. So this Sunday, we're going to be at the game. We're going to be at the stadium. And she's not going to be cheering for the Giants because she'll be happy for me, but I'm going to be making a whole lot of noise. I'm going to get some autographs. I'm going to, try to meet some of the players, and I'm just going to have a good time. Win or lose, I'm going to have a good time, and I'm going to cheer for my boys, and maybe we come away with the dub. So thanks for spending some time with us today. Happy New Year's again to everybody out there. And if you like the content that we're bringing you guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. So every time we drop some new content, you're one of the first ones to get it. And don't think because this is the last game of the season that this is all the content. We're going to be bringing content weekly, sometimes twice a week. We're going to do position group breakdowns, starting with the quarterback room. We're going to move over to the tight end room, the wide receiver room. We're going to talk offensive line, defensive line. We're going to talk safeties and corners, and we're going to talk linebackers. We're going to take a look at our coaching staff. We're going to look at the assistants. We're going to try to get some interviews with different writers and journalists who cover the Giants. We're also going to talk about some of the personnel decisions that we hope to see with players in free agency. We're going to talk draft. We're going to talk a lot. There's so much more to discuss with this team that we all love and want to see do well. And we're going to talk about this GM because, again, I don't know. Louis Riddick he's still out there. Louis Riddick is still out there. I'm just saying. And he would love to be the general manager for the New York Football Giants. And I think Louis Riddick will do a fabulous job. So we will see. Do we like Marcus Freeman as a head coach? Do we like Chris Shula as a head coach? Who do we like? Are we still hoping Tomlin is available? All these people, every time I bring up Brian Flores, they say, he don't want to be here. The Giants did. He got a case of it. Shut the fuck up. I know. But if it could happen, Brian Flores would be an incredible head coach. I get it. He got stuff going on. But if we can get him, you mean to tell me you wouldn't? Just stop. Stop. We're going to talk about all that too. We're going to break it all down. We're going to do player profiles on these upcoming draft prospects. We got a lot to talk about, y'all. So thanks again for joining us, and we will see you guys for the post-game show. We're going to get some content for the game, and we're going to break it all down, win or lose, what we saw. Go Big Blue.
Yeah, a lot of girls probably crying from my old high school. Look, they see me everywhere they go. I probably would too. Look, crossed over to the Jordan man like I'm Michael. Yeah, eating blessings so much I might need lipo. Yeah, tailored for the doves like I'm walking in chucks. Yeah, it's just in this plan, man, I see how y'all shook. Look, knew that I was great ever since I was a rook. Man, all y'all singles making me look good. Okay, praise to the Most High, yeah, that's Jesus. Look, but when it come to this rap thing, I can't lose. Yeah, back-to-back number ones, that's a thing greats do. Yeah, tell them boys that ain't nothing I can't do. It's my year. It's my year.